Shalom Aleichem Rabbi. This is Rabbi Yehuda Levin, and the program is The Fear Kashas, heard each and every week. But this will be the last week where this program will be heard between approximately 8 o'clock and 8:15. I'm your host, Yehuda Levin, and I understand that the program, if it will continue in the coming weeks, will be heard somewhere between the hour of 7 and 8, maybe from 7 to 7:15. I'm not quite sure what the future of the program is. However, whatever happens, if you have a header for the internet, we will be publicizing a new hotline number where you will be able to hear our program, and we won't be limited necessarily to 13 minutes. The hotline number will hopefully be listed on the Fear, F-E-A-R, Kashas, KASHES.com, and it also might be listed on our website, ishyehudi.com, ISHYEHUDI.com. If you send me an email at rabbilevin@gmail.com, rabbilevin@gmail.com. If you send me an email, I will send you back the hotline number. But as we're unsure, the schedule is changing on the Talkline Communications Network next week. Therefore, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with this program. Maybe b'siyata d'shmaya, we will still be on. I want to begin by giving a tremendous congratulations to Agudath Israel of America. And believe me, despite what people think, I'm not stam anti-Agudah. I am an Agudist. However, because I have such a strong feeling for what represents the yeshivish and a chelik of the Hasidic community, therefore I feel they should be held to the highest standards, and I criticize them. I'm an equal opportunity criticizer when I think they're wrong, but I'm thrilled to give credit. I gave credit already in the past to what they did when they helped, if not totally, were responsible for canceling the Chicago Rabbinical Council sponsorship of a very negative program that would have instilled more compassion for the militant homosexual community that is trying to change Klal Yisrael's Torah attitude towards Mishkav Zohar and the practitioners thereof in an organized fashion. And I think Agudah played a role, if not a total role, certainly a significant role in canceling that event at the last minute. It was canceled. I had spoken with Rabbi Gedalya Schwartz, the rabbinic head of CRC, Wednesday evening, and he was adamant that they were going forward. And then Motzei Shabbos of January the 8th, emails went out and the event was canceled. I thanked Agudah for that, and now I want to thank them for something else. To my pleasant surprise, the prominent people from Agudath Israel, Rabbi Gedalya Weinberger and Rabbi Shmuel Lefkowitz, were participated and spoke. At least Rabbi Weinberger did, as a spokesperson at a press conference for David Storbin, who is running on March the 20th in the special election to replace Carl Kruger in what will soon be redistricted into a super Jewish senatorial district. It seems that Lew Fiddler did some research and has complaints in which he tried to tie in David Storbin as being associated with Nazis and skinhead, because some articles that he wrote appeared on certain websites that Mr. Fiddler claims are Nazi skinhead websites. This is a total distraction, because is the implication that Mr. Storbin is a Nazi, is a skinhead, is sympathetic to Nazis and skinheads who are anti-Jewish. That's ridiculous on its face. And therefore it's the same kind of chazarai, if I may say so, that several prominent Jewish communal quote-unquote askanim tried with Carl Palladino, where because he said something that might have been somewhat foolish or shot from the lip, they tried to make him into an anti-Semite who couldn't run for governor. This is the same old liberal Democrat playbook, and that's what Mr. Fiddler is trying, and I'm thrilled that Agudath Israel realizes the overarching importance of Mr. Storbin winning this. He is somebody who's totally opposed to all the hashchasa and the schmutz, and basically he takes a very conservative approach, and that was indicated in some of the articles which I saw about, which Fiddler was complaining about. He takes a conservative approach, and that conservative approach means that he is not interested necessarily in winning super popularity contests, whichever way the politically correct winds blow, and that means he will probably stand up for the things he believes in, which on the moral issues and on the way Mr. Storbin conducts himself is probably very much in sync with our traditional Torah community. Mr. Fiddler asked Mr. Storbin to reveal all his articles and his websites and his connections with Nazis and all these mishigasin. It's interesting that while Vos's Nayas and Matzav carried the story of the press conference, even one of them having a picture of the press conference of Mr. Storbin and the demands by Agudath Israel and others for an apology for Mr. Fiddler and to cease and desist. It's interesting that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, several hours after the press conference, Yeshiva World News, Yehuda Eckstien's website, was having a spirited, in-your-face continuation of Mr. Fiddler's demands of Mr. Storbin. So therefore, turnabout is fair play, and I want to call upon Mr. Eckstien of Yeshiva World News to please reveal to everyone how much, if there's any money, or how much money Mr. Fiddler or any of his sycophants and supporters are paying Mr. Eckstien to take this position against Agudath Israel and against the consensus of many in the Orthodox community that are offended by this kind of an attack on Storbin. I will call upon Mr. Fiddler to reveal if he paid any money directly or indirectly to Mr. Eckstien in cash, to any of his associates, or is the money paid by a check? And please tell us the amount of money that Mr. Eckstien is getting paid to break ranks with the rest of the Torah community that is incensed by what's going on. I'm happy that Agudah has come out strongly for Mr. Storbin, and people have to understand. I also calling upon Mr. Fiddler to please reveal each and every vote, that he should give us an accounting of his votes, any votes he's ever done on anything relating to the Mishkav Zocha, to the deviant agenda, any funding, how much funding he's given them. He's revealed how much funding he takes credit for the Jewish community, every time he voted together with X amounts of councilmen and somebody got a $20,000 or $5,000 grant over the last 10 or 11 years that Mr. Fiddler has been in the city council. He takes credit for it. So tell us about how much money, Mr. Fiddler, you've given to pro-gay, or I don't want to use the word gay because that gives them credit, pro-sodomist, pro-deviance, pro-schmutz organizations or their associated organizations. How much money have you given to them, and how many votes have you taken for them in the city council over the years, Mr. Fiddler? Furthermore, I would like to say that recently we heard again, oh, how wonderful it is in the articles and radio programs that Brad Lander went to Lakewood and he learned, and etc., etc. I just want to know, Brad Lander, who supports the same agenda as Lew Fiddler, Brad Lander, who at one point did certain things because he didn't like the bris milah situation, how we do it in Klal Yisrael, so he modified it in certain ways, or he didn't want to do it. I forget what the story was. It was something with Brad Lander and bris milah, which isn't strange because he's pro the hashchasa. But also, if I may ask, is Brad Lander's wife Jewish? And if not, why are we making such a big issue about this person going to Lakewood and everything else? We're so proud that we have to devote so much time to it in the articles. All of this Hanifa, this garbage, is it pleasing to God? It's obviously not. Rabbi, I want to read you. It's unusual to have good letters that get through in the Jewish week of December 30th, 2011, Lemisparim. And I'm reading you the following. In a time for zealots, you state Hanukkah is the festival brought to us by Jewish zealots. It was the military victory of guerrilla fighters and rogues against Greek repression. You even cite the book of Maccabees. how they killed traitorous Jews. These traitorous Jews were Hellenized, assimilated Jews. Furthermore, the first overt act of a rebellion was the killing of a Jew by a Jew. When Matis Yahu, he means killed the person who was eating the chazer. What these citations clearly demonstrate is that the Jewish week got much of and the gist of Hanukkah's story wrong. It was not only about the Maccabees' revolt against the foreigners. On the contrary, it was about Jew against Jew and for religious Torah-observant reasons. There was no, quote, peace amongst the Jews then. In the time of the Maccabees, emotions did burst into the flames of rebellion, and for the sake of preservation of Torah principles. Dr. Stuart Blaustein, I'm thrilled that this letter made its way into the Jewish week, and it touches up what I've spoken about in the past is the essence of Hanukkah. More important even than the Hanukkah, the defeat of the Syrian Greek was the defeat of the Hellenizers, and he was making this point. Here's another letter that got through in the January 27th issue of the Towns Jewish Times of Larry Gordon. Keep intimate moments private. Dear editor, I thank you for the quality paper you provide. I want to offer some constructive criticism on an Orthodox paper. I find some of your photography ads inappropriate and offensive as well. There are many ads out there portraying beautiful pictures. Why do you put photography ads of couples that look very intimately involved in your paper? I would be embarrassed to be in the presence of some of these couples. Their romantic gaze, standing or sitting so closely to each other. I feel like I am walking in on their moment of intimacy. Maybe it doesn't bother them, but it bothers me. You don't have to capture every moment. I am not so fanatic to say that you shouldn't have pictures of women in your paper or pictures of couples, as some other Orthodox papers don't. I just think that as a frum paper with a frum clientele, you should use better discretion as to what you publish. It is offensive to some of your readership. Thank you. Name withheld. I want to say the ads of Jerry Meyer's studio, in Vogue in different places, and certain other ones are absolutely disgusting, and I'm thrilled that this letter was put in, and I hope that Larry Gordon of the Five Towns News becomes more sensitive because he put this in and he understands this, and others. Really, all of these things are a tremendous kitrug. They are a tremendous spiritual prosecution when we have this kind of stuff. It causes people to be transgress on lo sesuru achar levavchem ve'achar einechem, to veer after your heart and your eyes. It's the isur of histaklos. But aside from that, it just shows that with all the Torah and all the learning and all the midas and all the chesed, we're still going south in terms of the culture. These kinds of pictures that they show today, and the pictures that make themselves land up in the Chosn and Kala's books, photography books that their kids then see, we're going far afield. We wouldn't have done this in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Rabbi said, this is Rabbi Yehuda Levin. Look for me and you'll find me, a guten Tamid.